So, good day everyone. Today I will be discussing the remaining topics of law enforcement operations and planning with crime mapping under midterm examination. So, for our learning objectives, at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to define crowds and its character, differentiate different crowds and their character, and illustrate the procedures to be followed during checkpoint. So, first, let us define uh, crowd and its character. So what do we mean by crowd? So a crowd is a group of people temporarily congregated. For the most part, it is orderly and leaderless and seldom requires police supervision. A crowd, in contrast to a mob, is a cowardly. So uh, in this definition, you will see the word mob. So what do you mean by mob? It is a large group or crowd of people who are angry or violent or are difficult to control. Likewise, the cowardice of a crowd is due to its lack of unity and definite purpose. That's why they are lacking for the courage to do what is right or expected for you to do. The members have only half-hearted enthusiasm for an undertaking that involves danger. They are hesitant and uncertain of the action they should take, because for every action there is what we call expectation that may be one of the reasons why they are lacking in terms of unity. They don't want others to excel, but rather they see it as a competition. So there are different kinds of crowd. Actually, there are two kinds of crowd. First is the casual crowd, an assembly of people showing no group behavior but merely denseness of contact. So for example are crowd shoppers. So basically, those people or individual who are going in the mall or other markets that their only purpose is to buy what they are really need. So that is only the casual crowd. Pupunta sila ng mall, and as usual, when you are going to the mall, makakakita ka ng maraming tao. A group of people, or somewhat, not only a group of people, but rather a large group of people. While a psychological crowd is an assemblage of people who have common intent or response emotionally to the same stimuli. So for example, ball game, parade, and fire. So those are the crowds that needs response for their stimuli. Like what I've said, the ball games, it is an activity that huge number of individuals are present that makes the players' emotional feelings become easily responded. You will feel nervous and happy at the same time. So when we say psychological crowd, the difference of it in casual crowd is that sa casual po, ah, ito po yung usual na crowd na nakikita natin, especially sa mga malls, sa mga markets. While si psychological crowd, meron na po yung presence of stimuli. For example, ball games. Ngayon, pag nakakita ka ng mas maraming crowd or mas madaming number of people, kakabahan ka. And your stimuli are being responded. And that is psychological crowd. Next, types of psychological crowd. First is the friendly crowd. It is well behaved and requires only the simplest control by the police. However, it can become riotous from improper handling. So in order to preserve the harmonious relationship between the crowd and police officer, they should handle it properly and need to have respect for the both party so that having trouble will be avoided. Kaya nga po friendly crowd. Kailangan po ma-avoid nila yung pwede or possible na mangyayari. Next is sighting crowd. People who gather together from now were at the scene of an accident, fire, or disaster. So this crowd is curious, cooperative, and anxious to assist, but frequently becomes liability to the officers. It becomes liability of the officers since they are the one who's helping them, and as a return, if something bad happen, they will become liable for them. Kaya po sila tinawag na exciting crowd. Another is agitated crowd. Friendly or riotous crowds when it becomes disturbed by emotional influences or swayed by responsible party. So it makes the crowd arouse. Some members of this crowd may try to provoke the police into committing error or judgment in order to discredit the department or to further incite the members. Such efforts are usually against individual officers in the mature of challenge or insult, and other abusive expression or speech. So a common provocation is to place women in the forefront to verbally harass and insult the police. Verbal abuses by the members of the crowd must be ignored no matter how vexing they may be. However, immediate action must be taken against those who assault bloodstone, rocks, and bottles or attempt to seize the riot sticks or weapons of the police. And then, following the issuance of an order, all necessary force may be used to accomplish the dispersal. Meaning, yung dispersal is pag-transfer ng mga nakuha mo or pag-transfer mo sa isang lugar patungo sa ibang lugar. Next is hostile crowd or hostile crowd. A disorderly crowd is a throng willing to be led into lawlessness, but lacks the courage and unity of purpose. Mob develops from this type of crowd. As long as disorderly crowd can be controlled, it remains a crowd. A hostile crowd is composed of a few determined leaders, active participants, and large numbers of spectators. A hostile crowd is usually noisy, threatening, and its individual members may harass the police. So as a group, it will hesitate to participate in lawlessness because it lacks organization and leadership. That's why they don't do their purpose due to the fact that they are lack in terms of the needed quality to attain their purpose. Si hostile crowd, they have no specific attainment of purpose kasi nga po, they are lacks of courage and unity. So, use of recognized leaders. An effective method of counteracting the developing leadership in a crowd is by using someone having greater appeal or prestige. A trusted leader may appeal to strikers to maintain order or to stop drifting towards mob action. So on the other hand, a well-known and respected civic leader can exert a calming influence. High school disturbances have been stopped and or restored by the appeals if a principal, a highly popular teacher, or student leaders. So, use of recognized leaders in order for us to have an effective method, especially in developing leadership, kailangan po pumili tayo or we have to choose leader who are qualified enough doon sa position. Kasi pag hindi po naging qualified sa position, especially sa pag-control ng mga crowds, magkakaroon po tayo ng lack of courage and lack of unity. And dun tayo papasok sa hostile o hostile crowd. So, yung mga crowds na nabanggit natin kanina are, especially yung kinds of crowds natin, yung two types of crowds or kinds of crowds, casual crowds and psychological crowds. Dahil doon, papasok po doon ang isang leader. Kasi po, kapag yung isang leader is hindi niya kayang i-control yung crowd, magkakaroon po tayo ng psychological crowd. Yung mga psychological crowd natin, sila po yung possible na magbigay ng problema sa isang society or sa isang community. Next is mob. So, I've already said earlier the mobs, but then let us define again what is mob. A mob may be defined as a large or disorderly crowd, especially bent on riotous or destructive action. So, meaning they are the crowds who are difficult to control. Kasi nga, sila po yung mga crowds na walang patutunguhan or not exactly walang patutunguhan but rather sila yung mga crowds na mahirap i-control. Next is riot. A mob seeks to violate each and every one of the police objectives. When it gains control, law and order disappear and anarchy result. So, bakit nga ba nagkaroon ng anarchy dyan? What do we mean by anarchy? It is a situation of confusion and wild behavior in which the people in the country, group, or organization are not controlled by rules or laws. So, in short, sa riots natin, there is an absence of government, and therefore, its members no longer respect the law for fear the consequences of its violation. Kasi, dahil nga wala tayong leader na pwede nating sundin, dahil hindi niya kayang i-control ang crowds natin or yung mga mobs natin or yung large number of crowds, ang gagawin na lang po nila is gagawa sila ng mga bagay na hindi favorable sa law natin or nababiolate natin yung mga rules and regulations. Kaya po, nakapag-result sila ng anarchy in which meron po diyang absence of government. And dahil nga sa absence of government, wala na po silang takot na mag-violate ng batas. Next, clearing spectators. Spectators approving the mob action further incited and encouraged the rioters to carry out the destruction of property or assault upon persons regarded as their enemies. This urging deceives the rioters into believing they have public support and are fighting for a righteous cause. Spectators, particularly adults, have been known to encourage the young to commit acts of lawlessness. So, in clearing spectators, the police must not only make determined efforts to stop the riot and remove spectators, but also take measures to protect person and property from roving band of looters or yung pag-transfer nila ng mga nanakaw nila, ng mga nakuha nila, ng mga na-violate nila na property into other places and those what they've stole was taken by force. Yun po yung pag-clear natin ng spectators. So, another is types of demonstration. First is rally. So, we have three types of demonstration. The rally, strike, and blackout. So, rally, an assembly of people, whether mobile or stationary, held to express sympathy or protest against any officials or governmental actions or some political and economics or social conditions. So, anyone can be a rallyist. And they only do that because they want to fight for their rights or they want government hears their complaint. And yes, hindi ka naman magrarally or hindi ka naman magkakonduct ng rally kung wala ka talagang purpose. Of course, magkakonduct ka ng rally kapag meron ka ng dahilan, kapag meron kang intention na gustong sabihin, especially sa ating government. Sa Manila, if yung iba sa inyo nakapunta na ng Manila or nakakita na ng mga taong nagrarally, ganun yung mga purpose nila. Meron silang purpose kung bakit sila nagrarally. Hindi lang sila basta pumupunta ng kalsada, basta sumusugod sa isang lugar nang wala silang purpose. Another is strike. Stoppage of work by the concerned action of employees in connection with labor disputes by reason of an unresolved economic issues in collective bargaining. So, nagkakaroon ng stoppage of work since may problema silang hindi nare-resolve, which is about their works. And para maipagpatuloy ang work nila, they will have an agreement in which people or groups in the respective institution will be in favor. So, sa strike, tumatagal po yan for weeks, days, weeks, or months. Depende po kung gaano nila katagal kayang i-resolve ang problema. So, sa strike, especially sa mga workers, sa company, nangyayari po yan. Na kapag kayong mga empleyado mo or yung employer-employee relationship is nagkaroon ng problema, kailangan mo na nilang ma-resolve yun within their company bago po sila makapag continuous ulit ng working process nila. Kasi hanggat hindi po nagkakaroon ng agreement between the two parties, hindi po mare-resolve ang problema at yung stoppage of work is patuloy na paiiralin kasi hindi pwedeng mag-conduct ng work or mag-continuous ng work, especially sa company, kung hindi okay ang dalawang partido. Another or last type of demonstration is lockout, is shutdown or mass dismissal of employees without clearance from Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE. So for example, sa isang company, pero sa sinasabing company is may iba't ibang branches, and then nagkaroon ng problema sa isang branch. So ngayon, yung sa isang branch na yun, hindi kayang i-resolve yung naging problema, and ang naging resort nila is yung isa sa mga branches nila ay itigil or hindi na i-continue yung production. Ano po ang nangyari? Yung mga employees nila ends up to dismissal. Ayan na po. Nagkaroon ng dismissal. Ibig sabihin, sa isang company, may iba't ibang branches, and then sa isang branch ng company na yon, lagyan natin ng pangalan, company A. Sa company A, yung isang branch nila ay nagkaroon ng problema. Ngayon, dahil hindi nila na kayang i-resolve ang problema or sadyang malulugi na ang isang branch, ang ginawa nila is para ma-resolve or ang ginawa nilang resort para sa tingin nila is mag-work out yung ibang company is tinanggal nila yung isang company or isang branch ng company. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng nagtatrabaho doon is tinanggalan ng karapatan para magtrabaho, and they are being dismissed for their work. And simulan, yung must, ibig sabihin ng must, huge number will be out of work, and it will be called as lockout. Kapag mass number yung natanggal sa trabaho or sa isang company, mass number of dismissal of employee, ang tawag po dyan ay lockout. Pero kung isa lang ang natanggal dyan, hindi po siya mako-considered as lockout. Mako-consider lang siya as lockout kapag marami or huge number of employees are natanggal. Dahil nga po sa nagka-problema ang isang company. Or may iba pa silang dahilan para tanggalin po ang mga empleyado. Next topic will be checkpoints. So, authority to establish checkpoints. The establishment of checkpoints must always be authorized by the PNP and manned by uniformed PNP personnel. So, other units directly involve an operation that may establish checkpoints in coordination with the commander of the unit or station in the area. Procedures to be followed when checkpoints are ignored. The event that checkpoints or roadblocks are ignored and the motorists or suspects bump the roadblock in an attempt to elude arrest or avoid inspection. So the team leader shall immediately contact the adjacent units to inform them of the situation and immediately conduct dragnet operation, while those conducting the checkpoint shall pursue the errant fleeing motorist. So kapag po nagkakandak tayo ng checkpoint, kailangan po lahat po ng pwede mong i-contact, especially pag may tumakas na mga motorist natin or may tumakas na suspect natin or probable suspect natin, kailangan po immediately contact yung pwedeng makontak na unit, especially yung lugar na possible nilang puntahan. Next is, warning shots shall be discouraged due to the confusion it may create to the driver and passengers of the vehicle. Megaphones or police sirens shall be used instead during the pursuit. So the plate number of the vehicle shall be noted and given to other units in adjacent areas to prevent the possibility that the vehicle may elude the pursuit operation. So kung kanina kailangan natin ng immediate action para makontak ang units, Ngayon, yung mga important information, kailangan maihatid mo din sa kabilang units para po magkaroon ng coordination ang dalawang units. And yun po yung way para mas mabilis nating mahuli yung mga tumatakas sa checkpoints. And another is in the event that the occupants of the vehicle open fire towards the personnel manning the checkpoint, and only reasonable force to overcome the suspect's resistance shall be employed. Hindi naman po kailangan nating bigyan sila ng or pahirapan sila or gamitan ng ng force na hindi naman akma doon sa na-violate nila or sasaktan lang natin sila dahil sa gusto natin. But rather, we will use reasonable force or yung valid source natin para po mahuli natin sila at mahuli or ma-apprehend natin yung suspects. Next is the limitation of searches at checkpoints. Searches made at check shall be limited to visual search, and neither the vehicle nor the occupant shall be subjected to physical search. And yes po, physical search lang po ang kailangan natin when it comes to searching. But an extensive search shall be allowed only if the officers conducting the search have probable cause to believe that they would find evidence pertaining to the commission of a crime in the vehicle to be searched. Kapag alam mo na yung chinecheck mo or sinesearch mo na tao is probable na makagawa ng crime or na makagawa ng crime, ngayon, pwede mo siyang i-search extensively. Kahit hindi po siya physical search. Pwede mo po siyang i-search as long as yung nakikita mo is, yung nakita mong tao or yung sinesearch mong tao ay probable na makagawa ng masama or probably may iba siyang purpose habang chinecheck mo siya. May iba siyang gagawin para sa'yo. Ang kailangan po natin when it comes to searching, hindi lang po tayo basta magsa-search. Pero kailangan po natin pangalagaan ng safety ng bawat isa. Kasi po possible na yung mga sinesearch natin, especially yung may mga nakatago dyan na armas is sila yung mauna para gumawa ng masamang action para sa atin. Next is hostage situation. Procedures to be followed in a hostage situation. First is crisis management task group shall be activated immediately. So, bakit ba kailangan ng crisis management task group? Pwede namang hindi na natin sila tawagin. But, tinatawag po natin sila because they are the one who we thinks can do the immediate action when it comes to hostage situation. Another is incident scene shall be secured and isolated. So, bakit ba kailangan nating i-secure ang isang incident scene? So, para po sa protection ng hostage. Kasi sa hostage situation, ang kalaban po natin dyan ay life and death. Dalawa lang po ang pagpipilian natin. It's either mamamatay si hostage or mabubuhay si hostage. Third is, unauthorized persons shall not be allowed entry and exit to the incident scene. Bakit po hindi natin papayagan yung ibang tao na maglabas-pasok doon sa incident scene or kung saan nangyayari yung isang hostage situation? Kasi po possible na maging victim din sila. At the same time, maapektuhan sila sa posibleng mangyari. For example, nagkaroon ng hindi inaasahang pangyayari. Nagkaroon ng palitan ng shot of firearms. Ngayon, dahil nga napapasok natin yung unauthorized person, possible na sila ay isa sa mga matatamaan. Kaya po ipine-prevent po natin yun para sa protection na rin po ng mga tao na naandoon sa incident scene. Next is witnesses' names, address, and other information shall be recorded. So, it should be recorded for future reference. Kasi, once na nakuha natin si hostage, possible na uh, mag-file yan ng case sa court or mag-file ng complaint sa court. Hindi naman pwede. Hindi naman sa lahat ng oras is mag-file sila ng complaint sa court. Kasi yung iba dyan is takot sila sa pwedeng mangyari sa kanila kapag nag-file sila. Yung iba naman, ipaglalaban talaga nila yung rights nila. Next is witnesses shall be directed to a safe location. Yun nga po, kaya po sabi natin sa pang-apat, sabi nga po natin sa pangatlo rather, yung unauthorized person shall not allow to enter and exit to the incident scene. Kasi po, sila po yung mga possible witnesses natin and kailangan po sila ay nasa safe area para hindi na po sila madamay doon sa hostage situation. Next is ground commander. So, there shall only one ground commander in the area. Kasi po, para hindi sila maguluhan sa order na ibibigay dahil ang hostage situation needs immediate action. Kasi po, kapag marami po tayong commander or ground commander, yung information na maihahatid sa atin ay maguguluhan tayo kasi iba-iba yung magbibigay sa atin ng order. At the same time, iba-iba yung dadating sa atin na order. And kapag hostage situation ang pinag-uusapan, kailangan isang order lang po ang ibigay. Kasi po ang hostage situation is between life and death and needs immediate action. Next is negotiators. It shall be designated and no one shall be allowed to talk to the hostage taker without clearance from the negotiating panel or ground commander. Sa negotiators po, kapag po nagkakaroon ng hostage situation, yung nagne-negotiate sa hostage taker, kailangan po ay as much as possible hindi siya magsasalita or as much as possible kung kinakailangan niya magsalita ay siya lang. Pero wala na po the rest of the person or the individual within the incident area or incident scene, hindi na po kailangang magsalita. Kasi po pwede po yung pagsasalita nyo ang mag-provoke sa hostage taker na gumawa ng masama sa kanyang hostage. Next is assault team shall be alerted for deployment in case the negotiation fails. So members of the assault team shall wear authorized and easily recognizable uniform during the conduct of operation. So bonnet shall not be used. So yun nga po, if sa negotiation pa lang is hindi na naging maganda or nag-fail, ang sunod na resort natin or ang last resort natin is assault team. Kailangan na po natin ng agarang action para po hindi na madamay ang iba pang tao sa incident area. And as much as possible, maprotektahan natin yung hostage. Next is assault plan. The assault shall be well planned. Shall po yun. The assault shall be well planned. Yes po, hindi po tayo kakonduct ng assault kung hindi natin to pinagplanuhan. At kung hindi man po nag-work ang unang plano natin, we should have a alternative plan or yung plan B natin. Kasi po, this hostage situation ay needs immediate action. And therefore, kapag po hindi tayo planado sa gagawin natin, marami po maaapektuhan and marami ang madadamay sa pwedeng mangyari or pwedeng gawin ni hostage taker. So, support personnel, an ambulance with medical crew and fire truck shall be detailed at the incident area. Sa pag-respond po sa hostage situation, kailangan po ng mga support personnel. Kasi po, when something bad happens, kailangan po immediately madala po sila sa hospital or mabigyan agad sila ng first aid. Next, coordination. Proper coordination with all participating elements shall be done to unify efforts in solving the crisis. Since hostage situation ito, between life and death ang pinag-uusapan natin, kailangan po may proper coordination with different units na kasama natin na magresponde sa crime scene, sa incident scene rather. So, uh, ginaga hindi kasi pwede na iisa lang participating unit ang kikilos. Kasi once na isa lang yung kumilos dyan, hindi po to mag-work out. And possible na yung mangyari ay mag-fail. Or possible na yung pag-assault natin sa hostage taker ay mag-fail. Na sa halip na makapag-save tayo ng buhay ay hindi po natin siya masisave and hindi natin siya mapoprotektahan or masisecure. Next, safety of hostage. In negotiating for the release of the hostage, the safety of the hostage shall always be paramount. So, paramount means very important. Yung safety po ng hostage natin is very important. Kaya po, hindi dapat tayo agad gagawa ng action dahil posibleng madamay ang hostage. So, in negotiating, kasi may negotiating yan eh. Kapag pikon yung nagne-negotiate doon sa hostage taker dahil napikon ka, dahil gustong gusto mo na makuha si hostage, and binaril mo ngayon si hostage taker without knowing na si hostage taker ay may dala ding armas or weapon, kung hindi man baril, kutsilyo, mapatay niya din si hostage. Kaya po dapat maging maingat tayo when it comes to hostage situation, and kailangan po natin dito ng long patience. So these are the procedures to be followed during negotiation. First is stabilize and contain the situation. Huwag tayo agad gagawa ng action. Kailangan once na dumating tayo sa incident scene na nako-contain lang po natin or secure lang po tayo doon sa place of incident. Another is select the right time to make contact with the hostage taker. Hindi po tayo basta-basta susugod, hindi tayo basta-basta makikipag-negotiate or kukontakin si hostage taker. It needs time or preparation time para po makapag-negotiate tayo sa hostage taker. Next, take time when negotiating. So, once na nakontak na natin or nagkaroon na ng negotiation within the hostage taker and the negotiator, kailangan po, we have to take time when negotiating. Hindi po natin kailangan madaliin. Kung may mga sinasabi si hostage taker, let him to tell what he want to tell. Basta, kung ano yung gusto niya sabihin, go lang. Take time when negotiating. Huwag po agad gagawa ng action para as much as possible, ma-secure natin or maprotektahan natin si hostage. Next is, allow hostage taker to speak. Siyempre, si hostage taker, maraming demand yan. Pero hayaan mo lang siyang magsalita ng magsalita until siya mismo yung sumuko. Next is, don't offer the hostage taker anything. What he will ask will be part of the negotiation. During hostage situation, may mga sasabihin si hostage taker, especially kapag naandoon na yung mga officers natin. Yung mga officer na pwedeng, yung mga crisis management task group natin, mga rumiresponde during crisis. Madami yung sasabihin, but always remember that is always part of the negotiation. Mag-o-offer siya ng kahit ano para alam niya na secured yung sarili niya, na kapag pinakawalan niya si hostage ay safe siya at walang gagawin sa kanya ang mga officer na naandoon sa incident area. Next is, avoid directing frequent attention to the victims when talking to the hostage taker. Once na nagkakaroon na kayo ng negotiation between the hostage taker and the negotiator, kailangan po yung attention mo sa victim ay hindi masyadong halata or hindi masyadong doon nagfo-focus. Kasi pag alam ng hostage taker na yun lang ang focus mo, possible na ma-provoke siya na gumawa ng hindi kaaya-aya o gumawa siya ng action na hindi kaaya-aya na makikita ng mga maraming tao. And yun yung uh, way nila para sa kanila mapunta ang atensyon, and do not call them hostages. Next is be as honest as possible. Avoid tricks. Be sincere. Kapag ka nandun ka na sa hostage situation, huwag ka na magpaligoy-ligoy pa. Direct to the point ka na magsabi. Pero yung point na sinasabi mo or yung way ng pagkakasabi mo is yung hindi masasaktan si hostage taker. Kasi once na nagsasalita ka dyan ng masasakit at nagsasalita ka dyan na possible na ikaka-downgrade niya, yun yung magpo-provoke sa kanya para saktan si hostage. Next, never dismiss any request from the hostage taker as trivial or unimportant. Lahat ng request ni hostage taker, isipin nyo importante. Basta wag kayong magsasalita or wag kayong magsasabi sa kanya o magde-demand sa kanya para hindi siya mag-expect. Never say no. Or kung hindi ka magsalita ng no, as much as possible, hindi ka magsasalita. Hayaan mo lang siyang magsabit ng mga demands niya. So, friendly demands. Kung magsabi siya ng demands na which is hard to give, ito na yung chance mo para magsalita. Yung negotiator lang po. Any person, hindi po pwedeng magsalita. Except doon po sa negotiator. Kung ang demands na hinihingi niya is alam naman natin na hindi natin kayang ibigay or masyadong mabigat, pwede natin kausapin si hostage taker na mas babawan or males yung demand na hinihingi niya. Next, never set a deadline. Try not to accept the deadline. Kasi po, si hostage taker, magbibigay at magbibigay yan ng deadline kung kailan mo ibibigay sa kanya. Pag hindi mo na ibigay sa kanya, yon yung panakot niya ngayon para gawin na niya yung gusto niyang gawin sa hostage. And yun ang hindi nyo kailangan gawin. Kung may deadline siyang ibigay, hindi mo tatanggapin or hindi ka magsasadya sa kanya ng deadline kasi aasa siya sa deadline na sasabihin mo. And yun yung magagamit ng weapon para sa'yo para gawin niya yung acts na mali niya sa mga hostage niya or sa hostage niya. Next, do not make alternate suggestions not agreed upon in the negotiation. So, once na nagkaroon na kayo ng agreement sa negotiation, any alternate suggestion is not accepted. Bakit? Kasi kung ano yung pinag-usapan nyo, yun dapat ang ibigay mo. Kailangan, once na nakikipag-negotiate ka, especially in this hostage situation, dapat may isang salita ka. Kung ano yung sinabi mo, or anong napag-usapan nyo, anong agreement nyo, yun lang po dapat ang susundin nyo. And do not introduce outsiders, non-law enforcement officers, into the negotiation process unless their presence is extremely necessary in the solution of the crisis. Kasi po, kapag ka po nag-accept tayo ng mga tao or hinayaan natin yung ibang tao na magsalita, hindi natin kasi mapipigilan yung crowd na once na nagsalita yan, possible na magsabi yan ng masama or nakakasakit. But, in every rule, there is an exemption. Sa hostage taking situation, meron dyan, or pwede natin i-contact yung family, or kung kakilala natin, or yung kamag-anak niya ay naandoon mismo sa incident scene, pwede po natin bigyan ng chance magsalita. Kasi possible na kapag nagsalita yung family na or yung kamag-anak niya within that incident scene, possible na maglaylo siya. And unti-unti siyang matatauhan para as a way din para matulungan natin yung mga officer upang ma-apprehend yung suspect. Next, Do not allow any exchange of hostages unless extremely necessary. Particularly, do not exchange a negotiator for a hostage. So, kapag ka nandun ka na sa hostage situation, kaya nga po, sinesecure natin yung area para wala na po ma-hostage na iba. And kapag ka po si hostage taker is nag-demand na palitan, palitan ng hostage and yung demand niya or yung gusto niya, wag na wag pong papayag. Kasi kapag pumayag ka, it means ibinigay mo lang din yung buhay niya sa alanganin. Next, avoid negotiating face to face. Wala naman pong nakikipag-negotiate ng harapan unless kung talaga pong ibang business. Kasi po, pwede pong positive, pwedeng negative. Sa positive side natin, pwede po tayong makapag-negotiate face to face kung ang purpose naman po natin is positive. For example, business. Of course, makikipag-negotiate tayo sa business ng face to face. Wala naman pong nakikipag-negotiate or nakikipag-usap sa client ng hindi face to face, especially kapag negosyo yung pinag-uusapan. But in this kind of situation, in hostage situation, negotiating face to face is avoided. Why? Kasi po, kapag face to face agad ang negotiation nyo, hindi nyo mapipigilan ang tension. Hindi nyo mapipigilan yung pwede mong sabihin sa isang tao. Lalo na kung naandoon yung family ng hostage mo. And yun yung ina-avoid natin. Kasi kapag ka na-provoke si hostage taker, especially doon sa mga nasabi mo sa kanya, yun yung magiging way niya o magiging lakas niya para saktan yung hostage niya. And lastly, law enforcement officers without proper training shall not be allowed to participate in hostage negotiations. And that is true. Kahit saan naman po, hindi lang po sa hostage negotiations, kahit po sa anong branch ng law enforcement, as long as yung officer mo is hindi po well trained, hindi po natin pwedeng isabak yan sa iba't ibang negotiation. Kasi po, in negotiating or uh, in negotiating and in apprehending suspect, kailangan po we are well trained. Kung hindi tayo well trained, kung hindi man tayo maka-apekto or makasakit ng iba, possible na yung mga ginagawa natin ay mali and hindi siya mag-work out. And ang lalabas po niyan is yung officer pa yung masama. Kasi nga, you have no knowledge, hindi ka well trained, hindi ka skilled doon sa hindi ka skilled sa mga training na gagawin mo, especially sa hostage negotiation, hindi po to mag-work out. And yung hostage negotiation nyo ay possible na mag-fail. Nasa halip na kayo yung manalo kasi law enforcement officers, malaki ang expectations dyan ng mga tao. Once na sinabing law enforcement officer, well-trained yan, skilled yan, magagaling yan. Pero kung kayo mismo is not well-trained and kayo ay sumabak, especially sa hostage negotiation, ano po ang mangyayari sa hostage negotiation nyo? Mag-fail yan. At ang mananalo pa sa inyo is si hostage taker. Kasi nga hindi kayo well-trained, naunahan kayo ni hostage taker. Or si law enforcement halimbawa naman ay takot humarap or takot harapin yung kanyang takot harapin yung hostage taker. Hindi kasi maiiwasan yan. Ang law enforcer hindi maiiwasan na hindi matakot kapag gano'n na yung situation. Kasi hindi naman sa lahat ng oras matapang ka. Pero, once na nasa hostage negotiation ka, kaya ka pinadala doon dahil alam mong kaya mo. And yung uniform police officers, hindi lang po yan basta uniform. Kailangan lang po ay may patunayan ka. Especially in terms of negotiating with the client of and apprehending suspect. Kasi po, sa pag-apprehend ng suspect, hindi dapat si suspect yung makakasakit sa'yo. Dapat ikaw yung makakasakit. Hindi naman sakit na literally na kailangan may shooting incident na mangyayari. Shooting incident required lang po yan kapag hindi na po talaga sumusunod si suspect sa mga sinasabi ni law enforcer. Pero kapag si law enforcer, alam natin na trained siya, well-trained siya, alam na yung ginagawa niya, yung mga gagawin niyang negotiation, yung mga apprehension niya sa mga suspect ay hindi po mapo-fail, but rather sila pa po yung i-idolize ng mga tao. Dahil nga po, pag sinabing police officer, well-trained po sila. And that's all po for hostage situation. So, yun lang po yung coverage po ng ating midterm examination sa LEA 4. And good luck po sa midterm examination. So, that's all. And thank you and God bless.